And welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we're back with kind of an impromptu video. This morning on the Warhammer Community's page, they released a new Apocrypha Necromunda packet, as they usually do, and this one's called the Spiders of the Sump. Now this one's actually quite an interesting rule set, and the reason why is because this game actually takes place in the Sump. Now in case you're unfamiliar, what the Sump is, the very bottom layer of Necromunda, of High Primus, basically all the chemicals, water, waste, and everything else that doesn't accumulate just kind of drifts down directly to the very bottom and creates the Sump, this massively huge toxic sea full of just random stuff that just kind of drifts down from the very top of the spire all the way down to the bottom through the underhive and all the way down to the very bottom of it. And so there's actually civilizations that actually exist on the Sump as well. You got people who live in these shanty towns along the shores, because a lot of things can be found in the Sump that you could drag out of it and actually use for to sell for money and salvage and things. At the same time, we also have mutated creatures that also live in the Sump as well. They come out of the Sump sometimes and cause terror through the underhive with monsters and mutants and all kinds of crazy stuff as well. In fact, this packet actually does a very good job of explaining all the lore around that. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because on this one here, right over here, we have a brand new game mechanic. It says Designer's Commentary, Battles on the Sump Seas. Presented below are the rules for sludge barges, scrap skiffs, and Sump Sea environments, allowing you to recreate the events described in the Spiders of the Sump. If the Arbiter wishes, these new rules may be included in your campaign. That means you can actually play battles in the Sump using boats and ships and rafts and cargo skiffs and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of like ash waste, but like on water is basically what it is, which is really, really cool. I just got my mind just got blown up when I saw this, because I just got inspired to do a whole bunch of different things. So let's go ahead and talk about the rules pack real quick. And because this video is kind of an impromptu one, I will put timestamps in the description box below for different sections. So right now, let's go and talk about the vehicle rules that you can use in the new Sump campaign setting. Alright, so let's talk about the sea vehicles. It says there are almost as many vehicles that ply the Sump seas and run off rivers in Necromunda as there are on the dusty plains and blasted bridgeways. The following vehicle construction rules can be used alongside the Wasteland Workshop rules found in Necromunda Book of the Outlines, allowing players to create vehicles capable of traversing the Black Seas in Necromunda. Note, some of the upgrades available to vehicles presented in the Wasteland Workshop might not be appropriate for sludge barges and scrap skiffs, such as wheel skies or tire claws, for instance, although as always, Arbiter can decide which ones they wish to include in the campaign. So we have locomotion special rules. Waterborne. Waterborne vehicles can only be used in Sump Sea environments. These vehicles can also build up momentum as they move and can be difficult to turn or slow down quickly. When a waterborne vehicle is activated, but before it takes any actions, it must roll for its drift movement. Scrap skiffs drift D3 inches directly forward in the direction they are facing, while sludge sea barges drift D6 inches directly forward in the direction they are facing. Drift movement does not use any of the vehicle's actions, though it may still cause collisions, etc. The Sump Sea environments. It says the Sump Seas, whether they are in the Midnight Realm beneath a hive or the storm-lashed expanses of the surface, are deadly and unforgiving environments. If a battle takes place on the Sump Seas, then the entirety of the battlefield surface is considered to be Sump. The Sump has the following rules. Only waterborne or skipper vehicles can traverse the Sump. Tracked, walker, or wheeled vehicles cannot be filled in Sump Sea environments. Fighters suited to the mounted condition are considered to be riding small craft, grav cutters, Sump creatures, etc. That can operate in a Sump Sea environments. If for any reason a fighter not suited to the mounted condition starts their activation not on either a piece of terrain or a vehicle with the waterborne or skimmer rule, and they themselves do not have a special rule such as flight that allows them to ignore terrain, then they must test to see if they drown. See below. As soon as a fighter who is not suited to the mounted condition falls or moves into the Sump, then their activation ends. Fighters on the Sump are considered to be in full cover and cannot become prone and pinned. Note, this means the fighters suited to the mounted condition are not affected by the I get knocked down rule. If a fighter on the Sump ever becomes prone and seriously injured, they are considered instead of taken out of action. Fighters that fall in the Sump do not take fall damage. Drowning. If a fighter begins their activation on the Sump, they must check to see if they start to drown. Make a strength test for the fighter. If they pass, they move D6 inches in any direction, which may be get them back into a vehicle or terrain piece. If they fail, then they remain in place and suffer a flesh wound. In both cases, activation immediately ends. So now we have rules for fighting on bodies of water, which are really cool as well. And just like always, we now have new vehicle rules, which look really cool. We've got the sludge barges, which are these huge ships. It looks like cost 165 credits, 6-inch movement front. side and rear toughness of 7, 6, and 6, 5 hull points, 8 handling, 4+ save. They have 2 weapon hard points. They have the waterborne special rule, and they have 3 body, 1 drive, and 2 engine upgrades. It says the equipment here is that they may be fitted with additional weapons and war gear from the sledge barge list, the trading post, and the black market. Additional vehicle upgrades from the sledge barge equipment list. They could be also take special heavy weapons as well. So we got a blade of armor, rams, transport beds, redundant drives, easy turnover engines, gas promethium engines, gliss vent injectors, smoke vents, auto guns, smoke grenades with web guns, harpoon launchers, heavy stubbers, body spikes, booby-trapped fuel tanks, and flare launchers. And then we have the scrap skiff. This is countless gangers, mutants, and outcasts have discovered. Pretty much anything that floats can be turned into a scrap skiff. Often little more than a raft of old Promethean boards lashed to a recent piece of dome plating. A scrap skiff can make for a serviceable craft, some even armored and armed enough to make dangerous and ramshackle pirate vessels, and of course it's better than swimming. These cost 40 fire credits. They have 8 movement, 3 toughness for front, side, and rear, 1 hull point, wow, very fragile, 6 handling, 5 save. It says they have 1 weapon hard point. It's got a waterborne special rule, and they can take 1 body, 1 drive, and 2 engine upgrades. So it looks like the same rules before for equipment. We have a blade of armor as well as weapons stash. We have redundant drive systems, easy turnover, gas methane engines, as well as gliss injectors, auto guns, grenade launchers with frag and crack grenades, harpoon launchers with stub guns, booby trap fuel tanks, and flare launchers. So right off the bat, I'm thinking it'd be cool if you did like an Ash Waste campaign, but did it in the Sump instead. And that, it's kind of like Waterworld. If any of you guys ever remember the post-apocalyptic movie Waterworld, it had Kevin Costner in that film. It was supposed to be the plot of the film that the polar ice caps melted and the entire Earth became covered in water, and that people are surviving, kind of like Mad Max, but on the ocean. And it was a kind of a really interesting movie. It didn't do very well in the box office. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think it was a box office bomb. But the movie has got a really good cult following, and it's actually really sweet as well. So I'm getting like images of like gangs on boats fighting in like a Waterworld type situation. There's a group of pirates in that movie called the Smokers, and they're called Smokers because they use they do 2 things. One, they're notorious cigarette smokers. They're always sucking on cigarettes in that film, but also because they also use fossil fuel vehicles like jet skis and boats, and they use gas and stuff and oil to power their things. So they always have smoke coming out of their exhaust, and that's why they're called smokers. But they're pirates, and they're like inbred hillbilly pirates, if that makes sense. So it's really cool, actually. It's just really neat. So it looks like we have these rules here, and it looks like we have the Midnight Sea special rule as well, which talks about playing out in the oceans. Actually, the Midnight Sea, which is actually out in the, if I remember correctly, I believe it's out in the surface of Necromunda as well. But there we go. So there you guys have it. These are some vehicle rules as well as rules conditions for playing in the Sump. I'm actually brainstorming a campaign right now in my head about like maybe a 4-player campaign, just trying these rules out and see what it's like to fight in the waters of the Underhive. So I mean, as you guys see, I have actually the funny part is I have a couple of miniatures already, some Higgins boats that I painted for my friend's Escher gangs that she was using as like craft. I also have like a couple of amphibious assault vehicles as well that we use, transport vehicles that we use as cargo weight ridge haulers as well as iron crawlers. And so my friends and I can just make a real quick impromptu campaign and just play to see exactly what it'd be like to play in the seas. I don't know, just brainstorming for now, but that's good for those of you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blog.com for all the latest greatest hobby news right to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.